As interesting a fight as they will come. As always, one half of your hosting duo, Craig Allen. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Craig Allen FNP. With me to my left, your right, Matt Allen FNP on the respective socials. We have a clash of styles. Or is it? Between Trailblazer Kevin Holland and Kyle Daukaus. And for Kevin Holland, it wasn't that long ago where he was the 2020 Fight Night Picks Male Fighter of the Year. What happened to the 2020 Fight Night Picks Female Fighter of the Year? She just had a title shot and lost in impressive fashion. That was Lauren Murphy. But for Kevin Holland, there was a point in time where he was getting his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt from Travis Lutter. There was a point in time where he wasn't really going to train at Lutter's anymore, but on the graphic I have in front of you, he trains at Lutter's a little bit now. And for Holland, obviously, you know what needs to happen. His last two fights, he got squarely out-wrestled by two of the better wrestlers in the division in Derek Brunson and Marvin Vettori. Now, Vettori was on short notice. We know this. But he had a lot of time for Brunson. And he caught Brunson with some good, clean shots in that fight. But I don't know. Derek Brunson with blonde hair has a chin. I guess that's all I can say. For Kyle Daukaus, it's been a weird UFC run. It hasn't been to the success that his brothers had. But he takes on Brendan Allen on short notice. And he rallies back in that fight. And it's a lot of fun. Then he goes out and fights Dustin Stuyvesant. And it's competitive. He wins that one by decision. Then he fights Phil Hawes. And it wasn't a great fight for Kyle Daukaus. And listen, he was supposed to get Aliaskhab Hizriev. I still have that fight locked in the vault of Fight Night Picks in case it ever does happen again. Because Hizriev's a wild man. He's a fun fighter to watch. But Kyle Daukaus, what does he do well? He strikes. And he's got power on his strikes. But this guy's a grappler through and through. Martinez, BJJ, you know him as a Philly guy. And he's going to go out there to take you down and try and choke you out. Is this the opportunity he's going to get against Kevin Holland that's trained a little bit at AKA? But a myriad of gyms I've seen on his Instagram. Again, I just threw up Travis Lutter BJJ, or we just threw him up, but he's trained at a lot of different gyms. I'm eager to see what Kevin Holland we get on this fight night.
Exactly, and I'm really eager to see how good is his takedown defense, because Kevin Holland is a unique fighter, and you brought it up when you said this is kind of a clash of styles. If Kevin Holland is underneath of Kyle Daukaus, then yes, he is a worse grappler than Kyle Daukaus. But if Kevin Holland gets on top of Kyle Daukaus, he's a pretty tricky grappler in the top position. He's got great ground and pound. He's got good submissions himself. Like, people forget that Kevin Holland is a good jiu-jitsu black belt in MMA because he's been taken down and held down by top-level wrestlers. When it comes to grappling, I'm not speaking about wrestling, I'm speaking about grappling once it hits the mat. I don't think Kevin Holland's just some terrible grappler. I really don't. I don't think Kevin Holland's going to have just this UFC career filled with just getting wrestle-effed by a bunch of people now. If it happens by Marvin Vettori and Derek Brunson, that's one thing. Those are two of the best wrestlers in the division, and two wrestlers who can also strike on the feet and who can also strike their way into their wrestling. With Kyle Daukaus, this will be a really unique fight because it's going to test Kevin Holland's takedown defense. If Kevin Holland has been doing nothing but wrestling, if all he's been doing is focusing on, defending takedowns from those high school kids with Daniel Cormier, like we saw those clips, if he has been working with like Ben Askren and the boys, then hey, maybe Kevin Holland can defend some of those initial takedown attempts from Kyle Daukaus and force Daukaus into a striker, because Daukaus does have good power on the feet, and it's almost a bit of an issue for him. I kind of look at Kyle Daukaus. I'm not going to put Matt Serra onto him, but it got brought up last week, and I feel like it's a worthwhile talking point. Kyle Daukaus is a heavy-handed grappler. And I worry that if Kyle Daukaus does start to get knockout wins on his resume, he'll start looking for the knockout a little bit more. And I worry about him in this fight because I don't think he can strike with Kevin Holland at all on the feet in this fight. I really don't. Kevin Holland is not only a good striker from the outside, he's a very flexible striker from the outside. His strikes come from odd angles. He's a unique puzzle to solve when you are on the outside. Now, Kyle Daukaus can really not worry about that at all if he just puts his head in Kevin Holland's chest. So this fight's going to come down to, I guess, two things. The takedown defense of Kevin Holland and the game planning of Kyle Daukaus.
And the game planning of Kevin Holland, because are we going to trash talk here? Are we going to try and have too much fun? Because that's backfired, especially in his last two fights. And if we have a look at the odds for this one, Kevin Holland coming in the favorite. He opened at par. He's minus 152 right now for Daukaus at par. And now he's a plus 126. We look at the Tapology votes. Not even close. 915 of them. 84% Holland. 37% by decision. 55% by knockout. For the 16% that have Daukaus. 61% by decision. 19% by submission. 9% by knockout. I'm surprised not more people that picked Daukaus to win. Again, by submission. But Kevin Holland is slippery on the ground. He definitely is adept. Kyle Daukaus is a big middleweight, like a big guy at 185. And Kevin Holland, there's always snickers, jeers, and question marks. The guy weighed 183.5, if I'm not mistaken, for both of his last two fights. Are we moving down to 170, and are we going to be a big, tall, rangy guy there? Are we just going to keep doing it at middleweight? We got our answer. So I'll be eager to see, is Holland going to pop from the outside and walk away, or try and, skip away out of the danger of Daukaus, or how it's going to play out? It really is tricky when you have a guy that almost needs to reinvent himself, taking on a now unranked fighter in Kyle Daukaus. I still like Kevin Holland because of those striking attributes that he does possess. But again, like, it's Kyle's world on the mat. It really is, in terms of his physicality and his wrestling. If he's able to get those initial takedowns, it's going to be tricky.
I agree 100% with the pick. I will say this, though. If Kevin Holland loses this fight, he should fight Lorenz Larkin next in Bellator, because it is hard to fall from the peak that was Kevin Holland's hype at the end of 2020. Like, he was a guy who was calling out Israel Adesanya, getting Adesanya to respond to him, which is a key factor in all that. Like, he was supposed to be the guy. He was supposed to fight for the title at some point during this year. And if he loses to Kyle Daukaus, I just don't really know if Kevin Holland will ever be able to reach that peak that we once thought he would be able to. But I still think he's going to be able to get the win over Kyle Daukaus.
Matt, both of us going with the Trailblazer, Kevin Holland, to get the win. Let us know down below in the comments section. Do you favor the grappling over the striking? I want to know who you have in this fight. And in our main event, Thiago Santos is taking on Johnny Walker. You're not going to want to miss that. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. And as we always say, let's get into it.